Welcome back to Leaders Live. Charlie Stevens, your host. We had a great episode last week with Mark Zablow, CEO, founder of Cogent. Key takeaway is always be looking for ways to offer value to your customers and anyone you're working with, and also bring excitement. We got a great episode this week. We are in the Flatiron District, tip of Silicon Alley, to meet with Michael Rangel, CEO and founder of Bank Novo, the business banking for startup entrepreneurs. Going down 23rd Street, let's go. Going over to 43 West 23rd Street, the Rise office space on the 3rd floor. Let's go. Welcome back, Leaders Live. Charlie Stevens, your host, here with Michael Rangel, CEO, founder of Bank Novo. Business solutions for startup entrepreneurs made easy. Before we get going into Mike's backstory, why are we doing this? It's because relationships matter, and I wanted to get to know you a little bit better, understand how your business operates, how you think, and then I can connect you with like-minded individuals, and then hopefully, that would help grow your business and help build our relationship. It's a little bit more authentic, a little more fun. We got a little interaction from the people. Man of the people, you're a man of the people, so let's get going into this. So a little bit of background, you are a finance guy, you were doing some trading, you're not really in the startup world. How did you get into this job? And you're not a startup guy. What's the story?
Sure.
What's the background? What's the truth?
Yeah, so Novo has a really interesting story, which we're really excited about, and we really wear it, kind of like a badge of honor on our chest. I come from a traditional, finance background. I've been working in finance since I was pretty young. Mm-hmm. Working for a relatively small money management shop, became the head trader, was managing, trading on behalf of billions of dollars in AUM. But it was a small shop by employee count, right? So I think there were about 20-ish people there at the time, and we were managing in excess of $20 billion, right? So it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Very little people means that those little people have to wear many hats, kind of like a traditional startup, right? So although I was in trading and operations, I was also in accounting, compliance, research, this, that, and the other. And so I got, my hand into all these different pots. One of those pots in accounting, I was able to see kind of the tool sets that were made available to businesses from a banking perspective. And I was just like, whoa. I was totally blown away because, after reflecting on it, I was like, listen, it makes sense for us because we know Excel like the back of our hands and we can do anything. But what about everybody else?
Right.
What about the greater small business arena, and what do they do? Right? People who don't have a quant degree in, anything, more of liberal arts majors, right? And so that really led us down a rabbit hole where it's one of the leading pain points in the small business arena. And one of the leading causes of failure is poor cash flow management. And, that really sent us on this conquest of figuring out what it is that we can what we could build to save those business owners both time and money and get them kind of on that same page to help them build their business with more transparency.
Right. What was maybe a key takeaway you took from that experience? Maybe from a person, a mentor, or somebody that you brought with you today, and maybe a lesson learned?
Interesting question. I have a pretty different kind of backstory where I definitely had a moment that kind of
Wild
shifted.
Backstory, yeah. Let's talk about that.
I wasn't in preparation to talk about that, so I'll give you kind of the cliff notes. So I just had a really crazy experience where I was in, kind of this near-death accident, ejected from a car, lost my best friend, where I really just had that man in the mirror moment, right? It was like, holy crap, I legit almost died. I always wanted to kind of build a business before then, but I never thought that there was that right time, right? I always thought I had to either make more money, meet more people, or learn more before I did something on my own. And then I quickly realized that that right time doesn't exist. And so kind of after that, right, I had this miraculous recovery, all of this stuff. And I've known my current co-founder Tyler forever, and we had always been talking about launching something.
Yeah.
And so both myself and him, from his own startup technology background, he had also been experiencing the pains. And at the end of the day, we were just like, this needs to be done. We saw what was happening across the pond with all the challenger banks, and we said, let's just do it. Let's dive in.
Yeah. Put things in perspective, and appreciate you sharing the story. But as you met Tyler, as you started the company, let's talk about Bank Novo. Let's talk about the inception of the company, what you're doing here. It's very exciting. You just got some funding, but let's talk about what you're doing.
Sure. So we just make banking really easy for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, freelancers, people in the gig economy. We just make it really easy. Kind of like the banking tools and functionality that these people have gotten used to in their individual lives. We're kind of transposing that also to their business lives, where that doesn't currently exist. Business banking is a lot clunkier for a lot of people from a technology standpoint. There aren't a whole lot of functional mobile applications, believe it or not, out there, which is pretty wild because it's 2019. There's like an application for everything.
Times are changing.
But for small business banking, they've been underserved for a very long time. There are obviously reasons behind that and why it hasn't moved so quickly from a regulation perspective.
Security issues, I'm sure.
But, the time is now to change. And so that's why we're really pushing forward to kind of bring that easiness or that simplicity to SMB banking as exists in individual banking.
Right. And you could even apply online.
You can apply right from your phone. Right, even better than online.
Yeah, you don't have to walk into a...
You don't have to. You can. We have customers who fill in their applications at all time of day, in all places, and we've heard very funny stories as to the activities that they were doing while applying. The main one being just not being in a bank branch, but I'll leave that up to your imagination. But no, we make it really easy. So you can apply for your bank account on your mobile phone. The average Novo customer finishes in about 10 minutes, as opposed to hours in a bank branch and sitting around for days or weeks, waiting to hear back from the bank. And then once your account's open, you get the Novo debit card. You're able to process transfers within just a few taps on your mobile phone. Whether electronically or even mailing a paper check out to a vendor or something of that nature.
Right, that's beautiful. And you guys are innovating. I saw on your website your team is a group of entrepreneurs that are pushing the envelope. Can you talk about a little bit of the culture of the team behind you?
Yeah, sure thing.
What's going on?
So it's something that we really focus on. And I can't really emphasize that enough.
I'm glad we're talking about it. Jeez, all right.
No, but it's serious, right? It's like small businesses. If you ask 20 people what the definition of a small business is, you're going to get most likely 20 different definitions, right? But one thing that stays true is most small businesses consider themselves underdogs. Right. It really stays true to the brand of being a small business owner because you're going up against larger forces, whether that's Amazon, whether that's department stores, whether that's technology companies, whatever it may be. All of these entities kind of feel that they're up against these large companies, and how the hell am I ever going to make a dent in that? And so, interestingly enough, that's kind of how we see ourselves as well. We're a small tech company, we're in business banking, but guess what? We're going up against the Chases, the Bank of Americas, all of these other larger incumbents as well. And we're just coming out with this tool, with a focus on simplicity and transparency for the end user. And we think that that'll, allow us to pierce through the noise, at least in the beginning, while we kind of compound on our product. But then that idea also is very inherent in the office. Which is really, really awesome. A lot of our team, don't come from a traditional banking background either, kind of like myself.
Right.
So a lot of our team, they're coming from all different types of industries, all different types of companies, and kind of using their unique perspectives on the world and bringing that to banking, which provides a lot of interesting takes on the product, which is really cool.
Well, how do you do that? How do you get your team in that room to start, collaborating in that manner and extracting the best part of every single one's background?
Sure. So, interesting question. And this isn't the best answer, but it's all about hiring the right people.
Right.
Right. It's literally, if you hire the right people and you put them in a room, they're going to collaborate. and everyone has kind of the best interests of the company in mind, right? It's not like, oh, I want to, show up Charlie because that'll make me better. It's everyone knows that they're in that room for a reason. And they're bringing their unique perspectives to make this product as good as it can be over time. So that's one of the things that we really look for, this collaborative environment. It's really what we look for in bringing new people in. But then one of the other things, we really like empowering our employees as well.
Solid.
We really, the way that I kind of phrase it might not be, so traditional, but I say, you know what, Charlie, we like you, we see your background, your hustle is awesome. We're gonna put you on this island over here and figure it out, right? We totally get it. And I think it was a Steve Jobs quote, right? We hire smart people so they tell us what to do, not for us to tell them what to do.
Right.
That's kind of what we live by here.
That's awesome. We're talking about collaborations. We're talking about the team. I thought it was interesting as well, the collaboration aspect of the app and how you're doing that with other apps.
Sure.
Zero Stripe could be added on to that. Talk about the collaboration.
Yeah, so that's
aspect.
definitely an interesting angle that we're taking on the market, right? We've built our infrastructure in a way where we're able to build out custom technology. We're not limited to a sandbox that has been prescribed to us, right? Our entire tech stack has been built out custom, so it allows us to quickly develop and deploy different product sets, which is really neat. It gives us a lot of flexibility to partner broadly, in all sorts of different business verticals, whether that's accounting, whether that's payments, whether it's lending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it allows us to do a lot of cool stuff. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a couple that we're working with. That's definitely one of the themes of our vision going forward, right? Is to create this financial ecosystem around our core product, right? The entire vision for Novo is, listen, small businesses have been underserved for a very long time. Banking has always operated in silos, right? It's crazy now that from your phone you can link your toaster at home to the hue of the light bulbs in your bedroom, but at the same time you can't have any connectivity with your bank account, right? It's wild. It's wild, wow. And so one of the things that we're saying is okay, we know that the average business owner is looking at about 7 different online portals to then piece all of that information back in one central place. It's a lot of manual work. It's a lot of time. Yeah. And for 90+% of business owners, they hate it, right? A lot of business owners, they want to run their business. They don't want to worry about the back office. Sure. Right? So the whole vision for Novo is to build out that ecosystem where everything communicates in their financial realm, right? It's effectively kind of creating the hub and spoke model, if you will. Right. Or we're going to go out and create partnerships with the best-in-class service providers, whether those be, lending companies, payments companies, international transfer companies, so that a small business owner just needs to come to one portal and control their entire financial life from one place, as opposed to the way it's always been done.
Super unique, very powerful, solid stuff.
We're excited.
I'm excited. Start submitting some questions for Michael. We're going to be taking those in just a minute, but as we talk about the network and collaboration aspect of this, how have you built out your network? Just to start it off, what stood out to me in 2017, you were part of the Barclays Accelerator powered by Techstars. Those are 2 giant names in the industry. How has that, built your network, I'm sure?
Absolutely. So that's one of, the best things we've done. We're huge cheerleaders for that program. Especially when you're talking about FinTech, right? Yeah. There are a lot of accelerators out there now. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of saturation in the model. There's a lot of noise, which kind of results just as a matter of fact. So we did that in 2017. It was one of the best decisions we had ever made. The way that Barclays kind of interacts and interfaces with startups is very unique. Especially coming from a financial institution perspective, which is really nice. And they've been incredibly valuable, not only from a connections and resource standpoint, but also mentorship. We actually got about 2 of our formal advisors through that program itself. Right. One of our, formal advisors, is a C-level at Barclays. And it's not, kind of just window dressing and nice to just have someone of that stature there. I was just with him last week. So they really share their resource, and they're very generous. And Techstars is also great, right? Because on the one side you have the massive global FI, and then on the other side you have, right, effectively the startup side of the equation, right? Kind of helping you and guiding you along the path that is very traveled very little. Let's just say that, and can be pretty hairy at times.
Well, I mean, I could say how powerful it is. You could say how great it is as well. But I mean, what do you think made you stand out when you applied to that accelerator program that maybe a startup founder, could take that, that nugget of information when, applying to something like that made you stand out and get into that?
So, great question. And the real answer is I don't know.
Okay.
Because we definitely did not do a good job with the application itself. But what we did do a good job at, which is my advice, is just stay on top of it. And it's all about relationships and like pursuing those relationships relentlessly and making sure that you are always in the face of whoever that other party may be, whether it be an accelerator, whether it be an investor, whether it be a mentor, an advisor. Like, it's all about relationships at the end of the day. I couldn't, reinforce that more. The only reason why we're here today is because of the relationships that we forged along the way, and kind of us positioning ourselves to leverage those relationships in the most valuable of ways as well.
Yeah, and you also mentioned the investor relationship aspect. You just got around to funding. Crosslink Capital is the lead investor. I mean, could we talk about Crosslink Capital, how they've impacted Novo?
Absolutely. So Crosslink has been amazing. So funny enough, they were actually on kind of like our dream team VC roster before.
Nice.
Before we actually raised the round. But it was always pretty intimidating, especially because they're on the other coast and all of this stuff. But we ended up, kind of making inroads into the introductions, and we ended up colliding with the right people over there. And then the snowball just happened. People started looking a little bit deeper, and then one thing led to another. And then we started due diligence, and then, in March we ended up closing a round, which is fantastic. The reason why we're super excited to work with Crosslink is because they were also early investors in Chime. So Chime is kind of like definitely a company that we admire a lot. They definitely have a lot of their stuff very buttoned up, and something that we look to hopefully emulate in a lot of ways.
Sure.
But so by kind of leveraging the Crosslink relationship, they've seen this playbook before.
Great.
Right, so this is a whole other mentorship angle as well.
Mm-hmm. How about you got the funding? I mean, what's the future? What type of collaborations that you're looking for that someone maybe watching this or listening to this on the rebroadcast podcast can reach out to you and say, we can add value to you, or vice versa?
Sure, great question. I mean, this kind of ties back to what I was saying before, right?
Yeah.
We're all about building out this financial ecosystem. If you run a company or a technology firm, whatever it may be, that assists or helps small businesses, like, definitely reach out 100%. Whether it be, to extend Novo products to that customer base, whether it be, wanting to assist small businesses themselves in whatever, umpteen million different ways that small businesses need help. Right, there's so many different ways that we look to partner with institutions, whether it be to provide value to our existing customer base, or bringing in new customers that wouldn't have necessarily heard of us otherwise.
Right. That's awesome. As we do the Q&A, Josiah's got the microphone. What are you seeing on the comments, Josiah? Questions for Michael?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Michael, just got a question for you from one of our viewers. His name's Christopher. Wanted to ask you your opinion on something. He said, how will lower interest rates affect the banking industry, and what impact will they have on Challenger Bank?
So that's a great question. Great question.
That's what our guests give you. I mean, our viewers give you great questions. Way to go.
So it's a great question, man, but I'm afraid that I kind of am going to be able to kind of deflect it, just because you have, right, in banking, especially for small business banking, right, like our accounts are non-interest bearing. So because they're non-interest bearing, it kind of like gets out from the whole interest atmosphere, because you just don't have to pay that same money to the account holders.
Okay. Good answer.
Great. Second question was, what are small businesses looking for in banking experience that was not a factor in the past?
Sure, that's a great question. So I have an interesting anecdote to answer that, a little bit of a backstory. And don't quote me on these numbers, but it's something to the effect of, in 2017, there were 8 national banks that offered fully online digital account opening for small business bank accounts. Okay, so in 2017, there were 8. In 2018, there were 7.
Okay.
So one actually dropped off, right? And it's like, wait a second, that's going the wrong way. Moral of the story is opening a small business bank account has always been very hard. So at the outset of your relationship with a bank, it's already off to a rocky start. For a lot of the functionality, a lot of small businesses either have to go into a branch, which they don't want to, especially today's businesses, if you will, or you have to do a lot of back and forth communications with the underlying bank. So we just are able to simplify a lot of that. You're able to process transfers within a couple taps on your phone, and like I said, the onboarding process is also very simplistic. And so just that ease of use is really what we're double clicking into for our customer base.
That's good. One more?
Awesome, yeah. And so kind of bouncing off of that, let's talk about the future. What do you foresee being a major player or a major factor in the future, and how are you positioning Novo to be prepared for that?
Sure. So this ties back to what I've already echoed a few times. We think this ecosystem is going to be very powerful. By creating connections to the companies that small businesses already use and leverage, and making those connections way easier for them to navigate, we think that that's going to save our customers both time and money. Right? Instead of having to go to all sorts of different places on the internet, you'll be able to go to one place and kind of control everything from there. We think that has a lot of power behind it. And then kind of like the next step after the ecosystem is then launching other value-added, products and services that help our small businesses grow. Whether that be, banking tools and lending, whether that be lines of credit, loans, or credit cards. Those are also things that we're exploring.
Awesome.
Thanks,
As we wrap up, can you give us a words to live by, personal mantra, ethos, something like that? And then
Sure. Keep going. Just keep going.
I like that. I like personally saying "Rumble, young man, rumble." Old Muhammad Ali quote. Very similar.
Very similar.
Very
Just
similar.
keep going. It's going to get hard. It's going to get ugly. If you keep going, that means you're going to outpace the others who stopped.
Right. Solid. Question for the viewers, challenge, something that they can interact with, tag you in the comments and answer it.
Sure. I mean, I'd like to kind of deflect one of those questions that was directed at me, right? So, like, what do you want to see in the small business bank account? In your perfect small business bank account, what does that look like? Right? What connections do you want to see your bank allow you to do? Right? What kind of functionality do you wish you could do? Do you wish your toaster could connect to the Hue light bulbs in your bathroom? Like, what does that look like?
All right. And where can with the website, some ways to connect?
Yeah, you can go to our website.
Just check it all out.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll put the links in there, but okay, we'll
Yeah.
check it all out. That's it. That's all we got. I
Perfect.
appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on last minute. Big
Absolutely.
shout out to Matt Hamilton for making this happen. And that's it. All right, thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Nadal, wind it up, and that's it. Cool.
Great, thank you guys.
All right, cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, Nadal. You got it? And then we got influence music.
It's undescribable. The happiness in music.